Previously on the Evan Here's Culture campaign.
It's actually so 70s that I'm kind of curious if somebody from the 70s would even notice. Let's time travel! Excuse me, mister.
I've been looking all over for you, punk.
You're looking for a different guy. I'm actually from the future, 2021.
Don't even try it. Now let's get that dirty mop off you, you goddamn hippie. You may have gotten away this time. I will find you. There you are.
What's up, everybody? It's the Evan Here's Culture campaign. We're finally back after about a month-long hiatus, and there's a lot of reasons it's taken so long to get this done, but the main one is that I cannot stop listening to today's album over and over and over again. I'm talking about Weyes Blood's 2019, dare I say, masterpiece, Titanic Rising. So why do I love this album so much? Well, it does that thing that a lot of the great transcendent albums do so well, where it takes elements of somewhat disparate and scattered genres and combines them all into one cohesive sound. We got elements of psychedelic rock, we got some yacht rock going on, we've got pop, we've got these really tranquil zen-like ballads, and we got moments that border on opera. This is all held together by the gorgeous, wholesome vocals of Natalie Merring, and it's just all one complete package. So I've listened to it so many times, there's no reason we can't get methodical and just go track by track and dig into why this thing works. We start with our opener, A Lot's Gonna Change, which is the perfect lead into the album because it establishes essentially all the themes we're gonna be dealing with for the next 40 or so minutes. If I were to try to articulate the thematic core of this album, I'd say it's all about being in a transitionary phase in your life where you've lived enough of your adulthood to be in that position where you need to reevaluate that after you've dealt with some heartbreak and some loss and the pains of growing older, what sources can you, what things can you cling on to that will still give you a sense of hope and optimism? And that's what comes across in this song and through the rest of the album. Also, this song in particular, the chorus has some fun, high, belty notes. I love to sing along to some music, and this one is one of those songs that's so much fun to try desperately in vain to hit those notes and fall short. Then we have Andromeda, which I think a lot of people would cite as their favorite song on the album, probably because it straddles that line really well between accessibility and the unique Weyes Blood sound that's just outside of the mainstream. I mean, this is one of those more hopeful songs on the album about giving up some of your cynicism and moving on to, as the chorus says, let love through. And I really like it. It's not necessarily my favorite, but I understand why people like it, and talks about outer space. Everybody loves outer space.
If you make her a widow.
Next up, we got my favorite song on the album, Every Day. This is that perfect, catchy, hooky song that is going to worm its way into your brain. You're going to be singing that chorus over and over and over again and looping this thing for eternity if you listen to it. It also is the song that most embodies the 70s vibe that the album has going on. I hesitate to say that a little bit though, because the last time I mentioned 70s, things didn't go too well. It also contains my favorite line on the album, True Love is Making a Comeback. If this album is about a transitionary period, then that is the line that perfectly bridges those two separate ends. Then we got the fourth track on this album, Something to Believe, which sort of caps off the first half. It's a great song about finding those things, looking for those things, waiting for those things that make life worth living, make life worth pushing forward through. And it's one of those things that really implants its way into your brain. I sort of found myself later going around and kind of mumbling the bit of the chorus to myself, you know, the waters don't really go by me. It's fantastic. Then we got the title track, Titanic Rising, which takes an interesting approach to being the title track, because normally you think of the title track as the most memorable, the biggest song on the album, but instead, this is just an instrumental interlude that clears up the palette and gets you ready for the second, more somber half of the album. Kicking off the second half of the album is what's, in my opinion, the most psychedelic track on the piece. It's this slowish ballad called Movies, but what makes it really interesting is the ballad feels slow, but yet there's this pulsating strings that are going throughout the whole thing, leading to this really weird discordant tone. It's kind of hit or miss for me. And sometimes I'll listen to it and I'll think, oh, I love this is great. And other times I'll listen to it and think, I'm kind of on the fence. Depends on what mood I'm in. The next two tracks for me are a bit of a dip. They're still good, like everything on this album, but they're just not as exciting or interesting as the other things. You have Mirror Forever, which is interesting. It's got this hymn sort of quality. It becomes in the round at the end, basically, with the chorus just repeating over and over and over again and layered on top of each other. And it's good. It just isn't as exciting as the other tracks. And then you have Wild Time, which is really the track for me. It just never clicks. I can't think of any of the lyrics from it. It's as I said, good. It's just not at the caliber of everything else. But the final full track on the album, Picture Me Better, brings things right back up to such a high point. This might be the saddest song on the album. It's written from the perspective of a letter that Weyes Blood is writing to a friend who's passed away, sort of updating them on what's been going on in her life since. And it does that really hard thing where it is sad and the background of it is depressing, but yet it has a hopeful quality to it. And it has maybe my second favorite line on the album, the opening to the second verse, Picture Me Better, we finally found a winter for your sweater. That's poetry right there. Brilliant. The final song, Nearer to Thee, is basically just an instrumental reprise of A Lot's Gonna Change. It's a nice way to cap off the album. I know Matt and I, a couple episodes back, were talking about whether or not we liked when the first song on the album comes back at the end of the album, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'd say this is one of the times when it works, and that closes out the album. If you can't already tell from my excitement, I thought this album was just brilliant. If it wasn't for the instrumentals and those two songs I mentioned, leaving a little bit to be desired, I would say it's my favorite album of the campaign so far. But as of now, it comes in just under Purple Mountains, but hey, that's high praise. So I think that's about it. Great album. I think Weyes Blood might be releasing some more music soon, so that's something to look forward to. And
Surprise!
Oh, Jesus.
Remember me? Major Briggsley from 1971.
How the hell did you get here?
Pretty simple. I built my own time machine and made a few educated guesses about when you might be living. Now, here I am.
Okay, well, why'd you follow me all this way?
Well, I figured out you weren't the particular draft dodger I was looking for, but nobody makes a fool of me. So I'm taking you back, and I'm gonna put you right on the front line.
That's just ridiculous, man. Your whole premise is ridiculous. Why would you chase me 50 years across time to retroactively draft me into a decades-old war? It just doesn't make any sense.
Because we need every man we can get. This is something a punk like you will never understand. But if we don't win this thing, it'll be the death of all culture as we know it.
Really? That's completely preposterous, man. Culture's still going strong. You don't believe me? I mean, here, take a listen.
Okay, fine. I'll give you this one shot to convince me.
And no good thing could be taken away if I still believed it. Hearts don't lie, you're gonna be just fine.
Deep down, that guy was all right. Wonder if he's still alive today.
Yeah, that makes sense.